Hello, and welcome to the Spring 2021 Certificate in Documentary Studies graduation. Um, this is a wonderful time of year, and you have some incredible work to hear and experience tonight. I'd like to introduce the director of the Center for Documentary Studies, Wesley Hogan.
Thanks so much, Randy. So good to be with everybody tonight. Good evening and welcome to this virtual celebration. I'm Wesley Hogan and proud to be the director of the Center for Documentary Studies. And I'm so grateful to be here tonight to celebrate the achievements of Free for All, an extraordinary artist who's completed the certificate for documentary arts from CDS courses, our continuing education program. And as part of their certificate, they finished substantial documentary work during a final project seminar taught by veteran extraordinary CDS instructor, Randy Benson. I'm so looking forward to hearing Free's audio piece with you all this evening. When the Center for Doc Studies first opened its doors 30 years ago, its mission was to promote documentary work that, quote, cultivates progressive change by amplifying voices, advancing human dignity, engendering respect among individuals, and breaking down barriers to understanding, and finally illuminating social injustice. We believed then, as we believe now, that documentary arts could change the world. Now more than ever, we know that our world needs to change. We at the center have committed ourselves anew to creating pathways and nurturing community in the documentary field for BIPOC and LGBTQIA artists and makers. These documentary artists and organizers continue to expand our abilities to see and hear and understand our human condition more fully and more profoundly. If you'd like to support this crucial anti-racist mission and the documentary arts role in creating a more just society, please click the Make a Gift Today button at the bottom of our website, documentarystudies.duke.edu, or contact CDS Development Director Mike Gully at michael.gully@duke.edu. And now it is a great pleasure to introduce CDS Courses Director Michael Betts II, a graduate of Duke's MFA in Experimental and Documentary Arts. Michael's work centers the ways that Black and Brown bodies navigate their existence in white spaces. We've all been excited and mobilized by the ways Michael, Rahi, and Dorian are transforming this program to more closely align with our mission and make it more real on the ground. Michael, welcome. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the virtual celebration and graduation presentation for the Certificate in Documentary Arts at the Center for Documentary Studies at Duke University. Again, I'm Michael Betts, the director of CDS Courses. Traditionally, an in-person event, this is a moment to globally celebrate the brilliance and perseverance of our graduates as they head into the world as documentary change agents with all knowledge of power and fervor of their voices within it. Throughout the year, CDS puts to practice its mission to train and develop globally minded anti-racist documentarians through its CDS Courses program, which is open to all communities, local and abroad. These courses are designed to develop students of all ages, orientations, and identities to gain the skills needed to be champions of true social justice in both their documentary work and everyday lives. If you'd like to find out more about how you can learn to tell your own compelling story, head over to documentarystudies.duke.edu for more information and sign up to receive our announcement for fall 2021 classes in July. You can also sign up for our online summer intensive slate of courses right now at www.cdscourses.org. Each time we celebrate a graduate, I am always moved by the honor that CDS Courses gets to be a chapter in the book of that maker's artistic career. To graduate in a period where people are actively fighting oppression in the streets and working at all levels of government to find creative systemic solutions to a global health crisis is an indication of the perseverance, passion, and support systems that this evening's maker has available to them. Tonight, you have an opportunity to sonically traverse the mundane mysticism of survival and memory, to listen to what it means to find one's ancestral memory imprinted in one's own flesh. You will get to hear what the work of liberation for all people is about and how it first and foremost in one's own life. Free for All's oral thesis is an emblematic of the intersectionality that CDS intentionality that CDS Courses is turning toward as we embark on our journey to be the global training center for intentional, loving, positionality-minded, anti-racist documentarians. As the program's director, I could not be prouder of the work you will hear tonight. But more importantly, as a sonic maker myself, I could not be prouder of the documentarian behind that work. I want to stop and say thank you to Randy Benson for your work to get our artists across the finish line during these ever-changing yet uncertain times. I would also like to offer a special acknowledgement of the hard and often invisible work of the CDS Courses staff, Rahi Hassan and Dorian Gomez, the CDS Courses or the CDS communications team, that is Mara Guevara, Whitney Baker, and Liz Phillips, our IT specialist, Alan Creech, Jamila Davenport of the operations team, and the executive assistant to the director and de facto chief of staff, Hadis Martinez, for which this evening would be impossible to pull off without. You nine make this event and the program that is CDS Courses exist vibrantly in our world. As our brilliant colleague Courtney Reed Eaton says all the time, we are CDS and CDS is us. Please know your labor and your attention and your love is seen. I also want to stop and acknowledge the families of Free and mentors and countless others who have made this evening possible. Lastly, I would like to recognize and thank our volunteers and donors that without their investment of time and money, it would be difficult to offer the quality programs that we do. Please head over to documentarystudies.duke.edu and click donate to support many more artists like the one you'll be hearing from this evening. Thank you so much for joining us in this joyous celebration tonight. And without further ado, the Spring 2021 Final Projects instructor and longtime friend of CDS, Randy Benson.
Hey, thanks so much. And I want to echo also the profound thanks to everybody who is making this possible for all the CDS community to experience. This term was very special for me because I had the opportunity to work with one artist, Free for All. And it was a wonderful experience. And Free, thank you so much for entrusting me with helping you get across the finish line. And you know, we all cannot wait to see where this work takes you and takes all of us. So without further ado, I want to throw the show to you. And ladies and gentlemen, Free for All.
I got people here, can you tell? Thanks so much, Randy. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Wesley. Thank you, all the CDS staff. And I also want to acknowledge, I'm not sure to whom exactly I should thank specifically, but I received a scholarship to pursue this certificate, and I think that came through an anonymous donor. So if you happen to be watching, thank you very much. And if you don't, I still thank you. This has been a really, really awesome experience for me, and I've learned so much and been able to work with really excellent artists in the process. So I'm just gonna start talking about this piece. Today I'm not gonna be playing a full piece for you. The full piece, which is the pilot for a podcast called We Are the Promised Land, it's about an hour long, so it's a little bit long for this presentation today. So I'm just gonna play you some highlights and tell you a little bit about the process. So I came into this project wanting to explore my own African ancestry, wanting to explore kind of like building community around my own desire to explore my ancestry. And in that process, I was introduced to Annette Hollowell. And Annette Hollowell lives between New Orleans, where I live, and near Oxford, Mississippi, Waterford, Mississippi, where her family has 80 acres that has been in their family for 100 years. And so as we were both talking about inheritance and all these different varieties of inheritance, her family land came up as a really as the kind of central point of the inheritance that she was exploring. And I got interested in it too, and I got interested in her whole family and all this really epic work that they do out there. But before we get too deep into that, I'm just going to play you the introduction for this piece that sort of explores this idea of ancestry and reincarnation and kind of like the spiritual hook that brought me into this work. Oh, sorry. I remembered something. I have a share. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. And now, also, I do not have visual anything to go with this right now. So please enjoy the sound. Turn your computer around or close your eyes. This is an invitation to not stare at a screen while on Zoom. Okay. Our ancestors were single cells, groups of cells, animals, then human beings, families, colonies, commodities, and now we free. But somehow still, we wear the weight of every life that made us. We hold on to what we think we need without knowing why we need it or where we got it. No memories retain their shape, just shadows, echoes, implications, looming rheumatism, fear of dogs, sweet tooth gone south to root canal, then empty hole. Some folks I know take the pronoun they in acknowledgement of their ancestors. Increasingly, I hear Black folks speak this way. Our ancestors are not gone, but in us, as far back as we cannot see, wagging our tongues and fingers at our adversaries, batting eyelashes at admirers, our flesh and blood configured of their experience. They look through our eyes, sip smoke through our lips. We steel ourselves against their scars. They call us to worship, to action, to sing. In sleep, they speak to us in symbols. They shout, they sing, shuffle through sometimes in a cold wind, a chorus of noiseless voices reaching into the echo chamber of our minds, full of secrets. They beckon to be heard, to be sensed and remembered. Those wordless whispers rustle into streams, fold over cliffs of consciousness, transform from river into clouds, composing stars of water, dust, and air, a solar system. Constellations spin into hurricanes, barrel from Gold Coast to Gulf South, depositing atoms of experience into the soil. The soil becomes sweet potato, becomes pie, becomes toothache, heart disease. We are, some say, the afterlife. We are the particles of consciousness that remain of who they were. We are promised land. I'm free for all. So from there, we meet Annette and her family. So the Hollowells, as I said, have about 80 acres outside of Oxford, Mississippi. And their land was purchased by Bill Hollowell's father, Albert, about 100 years ago. And now Bill, Annie, his wife, and Annette, their daughter, run the space as a kind of an events space. So they have a stage, a pavilion where they do concerts, and they also host weddings, and they host family reunions, and they host a lot of blues shows. They're very oriented to the blues out there, and specifically to Hill Country blues, which is the music that's endemic, one of the musics that's endemic to that region. There's also a fife and drum tradition. They're a black fife and drum tradition. But so one of the focuses of this series is Annette is now sort of taking the torch of stewardship. Her parents have been running this space as they do for the last 13 years, and now she's sort of taking on a leadership role there, and has a really different set of priorities for that. In the past, the Hollowells have really accepted everyone who comes to them, and not that they're not going to accept people, but that they've really had just a huge variety of guests and things that they've hosted. They've hosted festivals. They've hosted annually this gathering of white Mississippi bikers that is always full of some Confederate flag wear and all that stuff. But they're very much at home with pretty much anyone that comes, and it's a really inspiring thing to see, actually, as somebody who is not at home with anyone anywhere for the most part. But so I want to play you a short clip where you can meet Bill and Annie, and this is I call this sequence their meet cute sequence. Just a second. Within a couple of years, Wilma married another farmer, Charlie Faulkner, and the family moved to another farm in nearby Holly Springs. That's where Bill met Annie. They were about 11 years old.
She mentioned she lived on a sharecropping place, and we owned the farm right next to them, adjoining them. And I always tell people, I think we probably met a little bit different than this, but we were in a watermelon patch one day. I was down there checking on some watermelons, and they were down there taking the watermelons. So, but I think it was her sister that I caught in the watermelon patch.
Because I don't remember that
She
story.
just said hi and ran,
I said,
ran
hi.
like hell out of a watermelon patch, you know. But they were taking our watermelons. Every chance they got. We knew it. We kept trying to catch them. That and sweet corn. They get our corn too. But it wasn't a big deal. It was
Because
no
you had
big deal.
plenty. You had plenty.
No big deal, but
Bill and Annie are a snappy comic duo when they want to be, gently ribbing each other and editing one another's stories with details that betray the fact that 40 years of marriage does not iron a couple's lives into a single experience.
I used to think that my husband and his stepfather, big shots, okay? Because we walk like a mile to 2 miles to catch the bus. They ride to school on the back of a truck, and they never stop to pick us up, whether it's cold or raining or anything. Okay?
I don't know about
so they was up class. They was up on the hill. We was like down on the hill, okay? I don't know how we hooked up as husband and wife, okay? Because I hated that atmosphere, you know. I didn't, you know, it was storming outside. They would just pass us and keep on going, okay? And we would say, look at that Negro, you know.
So, that's Bill and Annie. They're adorable and hilarious. And the next clip I'm going to play you is a bit longer. It's about 10 minutes. And it has a portion of, we're really fortunate to be able to bring a historian into our midst for this project. Her name is Rondalyn Pierce, and she is just brilliant and has been doing for years and years lots of research about specifically Mississippi's Black history. And her thesis is about the history of land ownership, Black land ownership in North Mississippi. So she has all this really beautiful, amazing knowledge. And we were able to take an amazing tour with her in Oxford, where it was about 4 hours, and we basically did like the Black history tour of Oxford, Mississippi. If you're ever in Oxford, check her out. It's definitely worth it. This is a piece that is talking about the historic land ownership in Marshall County, where Waterford is, and it's also talking about I think we start with, if I remember correctly, I should have written more down. We start with dispelling some misinformation that people might have about Black Mississippians historically. And then the clip ends with this little short piece that is about it's taking some audio from Bill talking about a dream he had once, and it makes it feel like a sitcom a little bit. There was some. I have this feeling looking at family photos of the Hollowells in the 90s that they are like this intersection of Major Dad and the Cosby Show families, and that their reboot is due. So the little section at the end of this is like a scene from the sitcom that should be. Before emancipation in 1860, there are 17 rural Black landowners on record in the state of Mississippi. After emancipation, in the brief golden moment known today as Reconstruction, when Mississippi's Black majority finally briefly gained some political power, that number grew astronomically. In 1870, there were 1,600 rural Black landowners on record. By the turn of the 20th century, that number had increased to over 20,000. But let's go back to Rondalyn's first myth she mentioned. the idea that Black people came out of enslavement with nothing.
So that's untrue on a couple of different levels. One, Black people came out of enslavement with some skills. In fact, many of them came into enslavement with skills. They did not just go get anybody from anywhere to work these plantations. And they would go and pull our ancestors that were familiar with cultivation of the crops that they were growing in the New World for their skilled labor, for their knowledge of particular types of agronomy. So they came with a set of agricultural knowledge, indigenous agricultural knowledge that was useful here. So they had those skills, continued to use those skills. They left enslavement with those skills. Also, there were different types of enslaved people. Folks get the institution of enslavement kind of twisted. When you ask somebody what was slavery like, they're gonna tell you it was this big plantation. It was all out in the field. They're gonna tell you gone with the wind is what they're gonna tell you, because that's the normal mainstream narrative. But you could have different types of labor. Gang labor, which is more akin to the field labor people are used to, and other kind of labor. So when people were able to hire themselves out or be hired out by their enslaver, they were often able to do things that would gain them money. Also, if you had somebody who was enslaved but was very good at something, they were so good that other people either wanted to purchase them from, or the enslaver could make money off of their particular skills. Say they had a seamstress that was bar none. Think Elizabeth Keckley, right? She sewed for first ladies of the United States. A good blacksmith, any of those skilled tradesmen, craftsmen, cooks, chefs, they were able to make money off their skill, usually even during the time of enslavement. So even though their portion of the money they got may have been smaller because they were enslaved, that's often the way that they were able to purchase their own freedom. It's often the way that they were able to purchase other goods before enslavement. So you might have an enslaved person that's property themselves that might come out of enslavement with a cow, a horse, chickens, and other things that would help set them up for life. Many of them, due to the government or relationships that they had with different white people, came out of it with land. A lot of these people were able to buy from their former owners pieces of property. And so they were able to set up homesteads of their own, especially during the time of Reconstruction. And then some of them continued to hold on to that property even into the present day. Now, the Hill Country in and of itself, most of the counties run about, mid-20s to 40% Black. But there are 6 counties that are in what we call the Hill Country that are majority Black counties, or were historically. Marshall County, of course, where Waterford is, has always been historically Black. From the time of enslavement forward, it's always had more Black people than white people. It's actually nicknamed the Delta of the Hills because it's so Black. In the Hill Country, we find that there are fewer farmers, but they own larger parcels of land than did their Delta brethren. Even though, again, the statistics, you have to use what you have. There were some significant Black landowners in the Hills with hundreds of acres of property.
Like Rondalyn said, the statistics vary and can be unreliable for a number of reasons. But many folks familiar with the subject say that by 1950, rural Black land ownership in Mississippi was on the decline. There are many possible reasons for this, and many different stories we won't be exploring here. One notable story is glimpsed in the 1999 court case Pigford versus Glickmann. The plaintiff, Timothy Pigford, brought a case against the U.S. Department of Agriculture, headed at that time by Dan Glickmann. Pigford alleged that local and state authorities discriminated against him and other black farmers, refusing them loans or delaying them to the point in the season when they would no longer be helpful. He was joined by 400 other plaintiffs, and when the case was settled, that's right, the USDA settled, over 20,000 farmers filed for payouts as part of the class action suit, though only about 13,000 received payments. The suit covered farmers who could provide substantial evidence of their discrimination between 1983 and 1997. To date, the government has paid out about $100 million to such farmers, all in Mississippi. That doesn't cover the 100 plus years before that in which similar or worse things were probably happening. Nonetheless, black land and black land owners have long played a vital role in Mississippi's rural black communities.
I gradually learned that black landowners, land ownership made a difference. And that when I learned true history of the civil rights movement, you had all kinds of people in it, but a lot of times it was funded and aided by these black landowners that were able to make money without the assistance of white people, and therefore were less impacted by white patronage. There's a whole nother set of narratives, and they shouldn't be seen as exceptional, right? They shouldn't be seen as rare. Not in a state that's the blackest state in the nation, and not in a state that's always number 1 or 2 in black land ownership. These are not exceptional. Black people are nearly 40% of this state. It's not exceptional in a state that's as black as Mississippi, that a large portion would own property and would utilize that property for community building, for community uplift, and to make wealth more accessible to each other members of the black community. So they would use their social capital for the benefit of the whole community.
When I was thinking about buying this land from the rest of the siblings, I talked to my dad, father, in just as clear in a dream or something. No lie.
And what do you remember? Well, like, what was the gist of it?
He told me to buy it, to get it.
Has he appeared to you in dreams or anything since?
No, nothing since.
It's like, just get the land. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm going to say this one more time. That's a damn lie.
Wait.
We was in Saudi Arabia. Okay? This was back in when, though? 90?
93?
No, 90. We bought the property in 90. So it was back in 90.
I got a list of it.
So you're damn right. But anyway, this is what happened. We came home. The land has been on the market for 3 years and nobody purchases, okay? So we went back to Saudi. Yeah, it was about 3 years because we would come down here every year to visit, okay? And so
it went on quite 3. It probably on the market for a year. Yeah, about a year.
She liked to exaggerate a little bit.
Okay, well let me
We'll fact check you later.
Okay. So we went back to Saudi. I said, Bill was talking one night, I guess about 3 o'clock in the morning. I said, why don't we just go ahead and see, can we just buy everybody out? Okay? He said, that sounds like a wonderful idea. And so 3 months later, 3 o'clock in the morning, I said, what, Bill? I had a premonition. What kind of premonition? My dead father came to me in a dream. He said, McKinley, go ahead and buy him out. I said, you a damn lie. I told you I had done it 3 months ago. Okay? So
he's saying he confirms what he was thinking.
Yeah,
like
both those things can be true.
Approval.
Yeah. But he always, I tell him something, I swear, and it makes sense. He doesn't act on it, and then come right back and do exactly what I tell him. I said, now that's a damn shame.
Smart man.
Huh?
Smart man.
In 2018, when Grandma Wilma turned 99.
Sorry, little extra on there. But that leads me very well into the last clip and to talking about this last bit of process. That voice that you just heard was Annette Hollowell. And when this project kind of started, it was like, kind of like, I'm the documentarian and Annette is the subject. And then over the 3 years that we've been recording together, it's been 3 years, it's developed into much more of a collaboration, and it's been so fun and joyful to be able to collaborate with her, and also to watch her reclaim herself as an artist. I think it took a while for her to feel comfortable. I think she still doesn't feel quite comfortable claiming artistry, but the last 12 minutes or so of the episode is all narrated by Annette, and with her writing that she did about her grandmother, and includes this really beautiful eulogy that she wrote for her grandmother in 2019 when she passed away. It's I really, really appreciate so much of how much the Hollowells have let me into their lives and invited me into their family, and especially Annette. And I also appreciate the vulnerability of all of that, as well as the vulnerability of creating art that it comes from a very vulnerable place, and sharing it. So it's maybe my favorite part of the whole pilot is this eulogy, and I'll play that for you now. Another thing that I should say is this eulogy we recorded on the land at Foxfire with a PA, and it was raining a little bit. It was there's a lot of birds. We were trying to get the sound of the hills. We were hoping to actually get a sound of the topography of the sound bouncing off the hills, but we didn't quite have the power or the placement that we needed with our PA system to get the topography. But you do get a sense of the place from the sound. So that's all I'll say about that.
She held on as long as she could. Once her affairs were settled to her satisfaction, she let go.
Thoughts on Miss Wilma, Ancestors and Reinvention. Wilma Gwynn Hollowell Faulkner Jones was a woman who gained and lost. Losing her mother during childbirth at the age of 38, losing 2 siblings who didn't survive childhood, marrying at the age of 23 and losing her first husband some 20 years later, remarrying 2 years after that with 6 children. She buried siblings and even her youngest son. She buried countless friends, church members, and neighbors. She found love again in her 80s, and less than a year later buried her 3rd husband. Hell, at this point, she's probably buried a few imaginary boyfriends. My favorite was Mr. Baker. So what does it take to survive all of this? 100 years of love, life, loss, and reinvention. It had to be faith. A deeply abiding faith that had her rest on the notion that spirit was in control, because what do we really know after all? She made it 100 years with that faith, and though this life undoubtedly tested it, she returned to that faith in her Creator as a peaceful place of respite. She had a lifelong connection to the earth. She tilled the soil, ate what she grew, cared for and cultivated its animals, and practiced right relationship with this very land and earth that holds the memories of so many loved ones and ancestors. The very earth that 100 years later is welcoming her home. She exercised and breathed in sunlight, fresh air, long walks, even if it was just to the end of her driveway at the bottom of the hill. She was a creator. She was never idle. From her hands sprang quilts, dresses, wreaths, clothes, jewelry, toys, preserves, whoopings. She created and she taught others to do so as well. And she was just the perfect mix of the sacred and the profane. She was an avid reader and followed the word of God. She could drop some simple and foundational wisdom and could also drop a phrase or tell a story so scandalous that it would make you howl with laughter and also want to take notes to fact check later. Raise your hand if she ever came and checked on you or a sick loved one.
I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help.
Raise your hand if she was your teacher.
My help cometh from the Lord, who made heaven and earth.
Raise your hand if you've ever slept under one of her many quilts.
He will not permit thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall never slumber nor sleep.
Raise your hand if she ever told you about yourself and lovingly and firmly snatched you up and set you back on track.
The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand.
Raise your hand if she was a friend to you.
The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul.
So there you have it. If you aspire to live a life as long and full as she, connect in with a spiritual practice and community that grounds you and brings you peace. Get in right relationship with the earth. Eat whole and nourishing foods. Know what it is you're putting in your body, and when your body gives you signals and symptoms through illness to make changes, adjust and evolve. Never stop moving.
The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore.
What are you creating? What are you sharing with others that allows you to channel your own unique gifts? Whatever that is, well, that's your work and contribution. Make sure that when you leave this life, you have given so much, poured so much into others that you have been used up. Not depleted and beat up, but that your cup has been filled over and over again and poured out and passed on as kindness, as love, as memory, as legacy, and as traditions.
That's it. So, as I said, it's a much longer piece. It will be out for the world very soon. follow me on social media, I guess.
Awesome. Everybody, let's give it up for Free. Love it. Love it.
Thanks, Randy.
I want to invite attendees and panelists, if you have any questions, please type in the Q&A option of Zoom. And maybe if it's okay, I could just get it started. And the most general question of all, but it's so important to so many documentary artists out there, is your inspiration. What drew you to this and made you persevere through all the things that we artists need to do?
Well, there's a slight masochism to it, of course. But because you don't record like, I don't know, dozens of hours of audio and then go through it because you love relaxing. I think, I mean, as I was saying in the beginning, I sort of started coming to this inquiry for myself about my own ancestors. My dad's family, my Black side, is my dad was pretty estranged from his family when we were kids, and so I didn't really know anything about my Black ancestors growing up, and so I sort of started a process of getting to know them when I was in my 20s, and that as that grew and developed, and I started to want to kind of grow that practice, I started looking for a community in that, and that's how I met Annette. And it happens that corresponded with the time that I started this certificate program, and then her and her family are just the most welcoming and generous people that you could possibly ask for your first documentary, and they were very, very kind and giving with their story. And I think one thing that she has said over and over, and that I understand, is that they've been documented a lot as Foxfire Ranch, because they are where they are, kind of their destination, and they really are a community space. But a lot of who has come to document them is reflective of also like who is interested in the Blues Trail, which is a very like white crowd. It's a very white male crowd, and a group of people that doesn't necessarily get the story to the depth that maybe a person of color would. And it's not just that I'm Black that I get it, but it's also that they have been willing to let me in and let me see so much of who they are. And I think that really their generosity and the accountability that I felt to them once I started to get to know them is what made it possible to persevere for all this time. And the desire to know them more, and the desire to please them, honestly, by presenting their story in a way that felt honest to them and felt meaningful to them.
Excellent. Well, I want to invite Michael Betts II up, and let's do some little pomp and circumstance here.
All right. I'm curious if we can get Free's background to start the pomp and circumstance song. The dun dun dun. That's good.
You guys got it?
I love this. This is amazing. All righty. So, Free, congratulations on the completion of the certificate in documentary arts to Free for All on this day, Friday, May 14th, 2021. It'll be here for us in Durham, North Carolina. It is signed by director Wesley Hogan and myself as well. Thank you so very much. I'm grateful to be able to pass this to you. I'm just excited to do so. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Congratulations, my friend. Congratulations. Absolutely phenomenal. Can you do us a favor and tell us what your social medias are? How can we stay connected with you if we are out in the world listening to your work right now?
I pretty much just have Instagram, and that works fine for me. It's at free, like you think it's spelled, and then for real, which is feral with an E between the R and the A. So that's FREEFEREAL on Instagram.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well,
and I think actually I know everybody in the audience. I'm like,
I love it.
Except for I don't know Adam Ewing. So
fantastic.
Thanks for coming, Adam, and thanks for coming, everyone else. Everyone who I've known for years and years, and some of you I've known less time, but I really appreciate y'all being here. Thanks.
Anybody you want to thank? You get to shout out. You get to do a whole whatever you'd like to do here.
I want to thank my mama and Jesus, obviously.
Okay.
No, I want to thank. Well, I definitely want to thank my mom. The Hollowells. Annette is here. Y'all give her some love. And Aaliyah, who is also here, and Annette and Aaliyah have been making tarts or treats and tea for people out here, so that's really sweet of them. And also Aaliyah is designed our logo, has done like really beautiful graphic work for Annette for years, and for also for the organization I founded. So really appreciate Aaliyah. And my partner Jinx, who's also in the in the crowd down there, and all my friends who are here, and Randy, and the full staff of CDS who's like seen me through, like, I guess just 3 years of figuring it out. So thank you so much.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for entrusting us to be able to shepherd you in that way. And thank you for teaching us. You know, this is a bi-directional thing. We learn from you as well. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm very upset that I'm not present because I want some of these delicious treats. It sounds like.
Yeah.
I don't know if that carries over in the mail well or not. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Turn into a bottle of water on this side. I don't know how that happens. But thank you so very much. Congratulations, my friend. And
thank you.
Yeah, we're really excited to hear the official piece out in the world, for sure.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you, Free.
Thank you, Randy.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Alrighty. Randy, if there's no further ado,
we will
Fantastic.
See you on the other side.
All right, all. Thank you so much. And please, as always, again, check us out at cdscourses.org if you'd like to be able to do what Free's doing now. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.